Whenever you're ready, just jump behind the camera. Alright, hey guys, it's Thomas here, and I'm over at my buddy Brett's place, who just recently set up this awesome Reefer 525 XL system, and he wanted a little rescape done because, not that it's bad actually, Brett, it looks pretty good as the rock wall form that it's got right now, lots of caves and stuff, but you want something a little bit more open, maybe. Sure. So we're going to play around with it and see how awesome we can make this look. Usually I do scapes before a tank's set up, just because I don't like getting wet if I don't have to, but sometimes we change our minds about what we want, and playing around with it wet is what happens. So I'm going to get started. I'm not going to be looking at what you guys are saying if you guys are commenting. However, Brett's going to jump behind the camera there and read things to me as you guys bring them up. I'm just going to kind of jump in here and get started. Here we go. Now, were you thinking like a 2-pillar kind of thing, 3-pillar? Just without, okay. So I think what I'm going to start. I'm going to start just by getting some rock out of here, just so we have some space to work with. I love the shapes. I'm glad you got you must have gotten at least a couple boxes of shapes.
3 boxes of shapes.
That's perfect. Yeah. They make it a lot easier.
Yeah, they're really nice. The arches especially, they're really cool. But they couldn't do anything, didn't really do anything with them, right? So they're kind of just wasted. You know.
Fair enough.
It's alright. It's all good.
I'm just gonna keep the towel on hand so I can wipe as I go, just so we don't end up with salt creep on the sand and stuff.
It's getting worse.
Here,
I gotta.
We might end up at some point just shutting the pump off.
Sure. In
the event that we start blowing bubbles, but I'm going to try to work with one side of the tank at a time to prevent that. Oh, you know what I forgot to do?
Think pick.
I forgot to hook up to your internet using my data. Okay, it shouldn't be too bad.
Whatever you're going to do.
Oh no, we're already streaming. I'd have to start a new one.
Okay.
So we'll be irie.
There's a sand there doing it too.
Cool. Alright. Lots of shapes to work with.
Yeah, there's
it's going to be pretty awesome. So are you thinking of going mostly a mixed reef, SPS, soft coral? What?
Mixed.
Mixed.
Sure. Yep.
Alright, so I will try to give you some open, like nice places of open sand beds so that you've got places for things like scalenias and what have you. And also get some higher pillars in case you want to get some SPS and stuff up top. Yeah, the return pumps blowing air. Okay. Nice big cave here.
Yeah, I think there's 3 or 4 of those.
How do you like the random flow generator?
It's awesome.
Yeah?
It, before it actually made huge divots in sand. And then after I got that, it just completely disappeared. So
that's perfect.
It's, it was actually really well.
Doing its job.
Yep.
Anybody chatting to us back there?
Yep. Fortius the gamer asks, what's your favorite fish?
Oh, freshwater or saltwater? That's tough. Freshwater, it's honestly, I've always loved Asian arowanas. I've actually got, you can probably see the head of the one I got tattooed on my back.
Yep.
Saltwater, that's a real tough one. For a long time, I was really keen on jawfish. I really loved the interaction that they had with each other. I thought it was hilarious the way they kind of steal things from one another to decorate their caves. But
I got 2 of those on order actually.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
No, they're tons of fun. What kind did you end up getting there, Brett?
They're sleeper gobies. They're the orange spotted sleepers. I think it's not really. Is it the same as jawfish or kinda, sorta?
Jawfish are in their own kind of little category, where sleepers are a goby, but for sand sifters, you can't really go wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Jawfish do the exact opposite. They just dig holes everywhere and then live in them, and then you don't really get to escape your tank anymore because they've knocked everything over. Okay,
cool. I have to. So could you get 2 sleepers and then 2 of those? Would they?
Oh yeah, they'd be all right.
Fine, yeah. Okay.
Jawfish are a little territorial, but they shouldn't be causing issues with sleeper gobies or anything. They're going to be just moving the sand around every once in a while. Jawfish will probably get mad and move the sand back. Okay, let's see what we can do here. I really want to try to add some. So one thing I'll mention is I have no idea what I'm going for in this system. There was no pre-planning. Brett's pretty flexible with how it turns out. So I haven't really picked a theme or style in terms of the rock work. I'm just kind of going to play with it and see how it ends up and just work with it as I go.
Do you want me to start mixing epoxy?
Yeah, actually, we can make a couple connections. I'm liking where we're headed so far.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let's get another pretty decent size.
So you just want with little bits at a time, or do you want the whole?
Little bits at a time for sure.
Okay.
Let's try. See what we got here. I'll try to give you a nice shelf up top here too.
Sure. So anything a little bit smaller, bigger than this?
That's perfect.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, instead of like really hammering these rocks together and trying to get a lot of glue on them, I'm just going to pin points together where they're touching, so that it's harder to topple. Like they shouldn't move, but they're not going to be fully adhered together. So if you ever need to move something, you're not going to
pop it off.
Yeah, you're not going to be kind of screwed to where it started.
Yeah, it's kind of just a different shelf rock, I guess. Really flat.
Yeah. It's a little big for what I want to do right here, but
start rubbing from the other side too. They're fine. They seem fine.
They're not too upset at all, which is good. You know, a little cautious that I'm bopping around in here and poking around where they live, but not too upset at all, which is always a good sign. Another thing I'm doing whenever I'm scaping, I do my best not to have the rock touch the back wall or the side walls, and so that there's a lot of flow that can travel around the rock and through the rock, and also that way the tank itself is not holding the rock up at all. The rock's all kind of holding itself. That one. Still a little radio silence on there.
Nope, all good. Just a few people saying hello and.
Perfect. Now, I'm gonna do something funny. I'm borrowing your snail. I really don't like the way it just putty looks when you just push it in with your fingers, and it's got fingerprints on it. It's relatively smooth, so this snail is being hijacked, and I'm using its shell just to kind of create some texture to the putty so that it matches the rock a little bit better. And he didn't mind that very much. Okay. How much room do you have in your sump if we don't end up using all the rock?
There's quite a bit.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we're not going to lose any bio load.
No.
But that way we don't have to have everything up front. Okay. What are you thinking so far?
Looks good. Yeah. No, it looks awesome.
Sweet. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. No, it looks really good.
I think I might. Let's see.
Timothy R. asked, canister filter recommendation for a 65-gallon freshwater tank.
Most people know me pretty well by now, but I'm pretty stuck on Eheim. I really like Eheim. I've been using their filters for a really long time, and I've got one of their classic series canisters that I've had, I keep saying 15 years, but it's probably closer to 20 years at this point. Crazy. And it's still running. So that's always been high on my list. That said, there's lots and lots of options. I would probably look at Eheim to start, but then you could also look at something like Arena Philstar. They do pretty good. Fluval. See, the thing is, for that size tank, a Fluval FX4 would be pretty huge, and an FX6. But I'm a big fan of those filters from Fluval. I don't really like their regular filters, canister filters. I'm honestly just a massive fan of Eheim. Get an Eheim. They have all the parts available. If you ever break something or something fails on it, you're always covered because they're going to make parts forever.
Good to know.
Yeah, no, Eheim is my go-to for most things. Even their heaters, like the Evo Jaeger heaters, when they bought them out, I just kept using them, and same thing, they got a great warranty. They work really well. They're super consistent. Even if you look at like Bulk Reef Supplies videos and stuff, when they review their different heaters and what have you, even they find the Jaeger heaters to work really, really well for a lot of different applications.
He said he pretty much figured you'd say Eheim 2215 or 2217.
Yeah, 2215 would be solid. You can go up to a 2217 because Eheim, especially on the Classic series, they tailor the flow to the biomedia specifically. They don't have the highest flow of canisters for their ratings, which makes it a lot easier to put an oversized canister on whatever tank it is you're looking to put it on. So I'm a big fan of a 2217 for your situation. 2215 would also work just fine though.
So Stephen Dean just asked, I just got the same lights. What setting do you recommend keeping them at a mixed reef? I haven't touched them, to be honest. I just kind of let them go, and I don't have any coral. You can see a little bit of algae growth, but Still waiting to dial it all in. Yeah, so just almost max settings, maybe 90%. That's about it, really.
Yeah, when it comes to, okay, this is the main thing I'll say about LEDs that have a lot of control. So whether it's Ecotech Radions or the AIs, or you're looking at Orfec or whatever it is, that gives you a ton of control over the LEDs themselves and what LEDs are on and for what intensity and for how long. It is really easy to screw it up, because what a lot of reefers will do is they'll kind of dial it into what they think looks good to their eye, but that, in a lot of cases, completely neglects what is actually pertinent to the corals. So, you know, you could put yourself in a situation where you've set the light up and the way you set it up isn't actually really optimal for the corals, and they might do fine, but you could have something a lot better. So what I usually recommend is, instead of playing with the settings too much, either leave all of the blues on relatively maxed out and use the main slider for intensity for all of the banks to change it from 100% to 0%, like wherever you want. I usually start most lights off somewhere around 40 to 60% and then dial it up from there, as I find the corals may or may not need more light. But it is best case scenario to just use one of their presets. A lot of the times, especially companies like AI and Ecotech that have had a lot of research put into what their presets should be at this point. They've had labs done and checked on coral response to the lights. Use their preset, whichever one you think works best for you, whether or not you're aiming for growth or color or whatever, and then just worry about the intensity and change it depending on what you need. That's the safest bet, and it should yield the best results with the least amount of effort. And that's honestly my recommendation, because I think it's, in this day and age, just really easy to kind of just mess it up unintentionally. Lights these days give you way more control than the average hobbyist needs. But I mean, if you're comfortable with messing around with it, and you think you've got a pretty good handle on it, or you have a par meter that you can kind of back up you know, your settings with and kind of prove them, so to speak, before you actually use them in full, then that's always a good option. You know, just play around with it, and then you'll have your par meter to kind of tell you if you're on the right track.
There's also a Facebook group, AI Hydra/Prime users, and that gives you lighting schedules that everybody uses. You can download the file and to what works for them, to what suits them, and everything is already dialed in. It's pretty neat. Once I get that, it'll be really good.
Okay, I think our first structure is done.
Cool.
And I'm gonna work on.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
That's the important part, since this is your tank. I'm gonna work on the next side and see how that comes together. What I've done on this side so far is I've created nice caves. Everything's nothing's actually sitting on the back of the tank or the overflow box. It's all off of it. There's space behind the rock for fish to get in behind and do their thing. Lots of space for flow to go in behind the tank and or in behind the rockwork and in front of the rockwork. Got nice caves everywhere, so there should be flow all through the rockwork. And I left a nice big space on this side, so if you wanted to have like a Trachophilia section, or like a bunch of Scalenias on the bottom, or even clams, because I love clams. I don't know about you, but clams are awesome. You've got some space for that there. I'm also going to try to have one kind of right here, and then a little bit on this side too. So the next side of the tank is what I'm focusing on. So far, I'm using most of the rock, I think. Most of it.
Yep, looks really good.
Whoa. Okay, I'm going to start separating this into types.
So Simple Aquatics asked, any ideas for my new 150 gallon I'm going reef?
Okay.
I'm not sure really what he means by that.
In terms of livestock or what you want to use for lighting, let me know what you want recommendations on specifically, and we'll work it out. Come up with some ideas. I gotta get cooking. You're making putty faster than I'm stacking rocks together. Okay. So many snails have gone on a table vacation. You got a really solid cleanup crew in here already.
Yeah, yeah. so I really didn't want to skimp on too much.
No, absolutely. Oh, man.
The strawberry tops are they're awesome. Those, I think they're called strawberry.
The big ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them are Ninja Stars. And
I think this guy's getting a little hard here. I'm going to have to not use it.
B. Tim's asked, thoughts on keeping discus fish?
I think it takes a lot of discipline. You got to stay on top of water changes. You really have to make sure their water quality is consistently spectacular. You don't want to have high nutrients with them or nitrates in the system. For me, and this is why I've never done discus yet, and I think I've talked about it a little bit, maybe during a live Q&A or something, but for me, it really just comes down to the fact that I like to be lazy sometimes. I'll set reefs up in a way that I can sit back and enjoy them more than I'm tinkering with them through harvesting and what have you. And with discus, doing a little bit harder to set up, I'm on a well. My well water, I don't know if I want to do a drip. Joey has done in the past on his. That's the main thing that's holding me back from it. I think at this point I'm going to just have to bite the bullet and get on it because people are asking me all the time about discus, and I'm tired of telling them I don't know. Of all the things, I'm like, I can't really help you because I'm not 100% sure. But I think as long as you're willing to put in the effort in terms of keeping the water quality stable and clean, you don't really have a ton to worry about. So I think that is really the key to discus, and just sourcing good discus and avoiding wild caught, because there's problems that come with wild caught fish. A lot of the time they have to be dewormed, and you got to make sure that all the parasites in their gut are taken care of. Adult fish from the wild don't often take very well to being brought into captivity. So I would say definitely, if you're going to go that route, definitely source as well. Captive bred fish, even locally, is better, and avoid flying them all over the place if you can. Anything that's sensitive, the least amount of exposure to, travel and all that kind of jazz is going to be the best thing for them. Okay, now we got somewhere to work with here. Okay.
The sand is a Caribsea aragonite. Is that how you pronounce it?
Aragonite, yeah.
Aragonite, yeah.
Yeah, this is their, they have a black and white mix.
I think this is a Hawaiian.
Hawaiian, that's it.
Yeah. Something different, something you don't see every day. Plus it'll hide the detritus and detritus, and the algae a little bit better too.
Absolutely. Now something some people might notice is I'm kind of placing the caves in a funny way where I'm not making it an obvious cave. I'm flipping them over and using the texture inside of the cave to add interest to the scape, because making a cave by bridging rocks is easy, but if a rock doesn't have a lot of texture already and doesn't have a lot of interest, the easiest thing to do is find a rock that does and show that side of the rock rather than necessarily use it as intended. So I am trying to make sure that you've got a lot of fun, awesome, and interesting things to look at. Man, you're on point with this buddy. What do we do next here? Let's get something in the back. That crab's going for a vacation too. Out of tank vacation.
So Timothy R replied again with the Eheim. If I go with the 2215/17, do you recommend Do you recommend the media it comes with, or another manufacturer's media?
Oh, I love Eheim's media. 100% use Eheim's media. In the future, Marion.
Hold it.
Yeah. In the future, if you ever decide to add something to it, and instead of using their carbon pads, which I don't honestly use carbon in most systems unless I absolutely have to, go with something like Purigen or ChemiPure, and that would be the only recommendation I really have. I think their media is actually excellent, and as long as, if you get a classic series, as long as you don't mind cutting circles out of like a roll of filter floss, then you can do that instead of buying their proprietary pads. But their blue pads and stuff are great.
Cool.
Their biomedia is excellent. I almost exclusively swap out biomedia and other brands of canister filters with Eheim Substrate Pro. Substrat Pro. Okay, where are we here? I need to step back and look at this. Okay.
Pixel Dino said, "Hi Thomas, the king of DIY inspired me to watch you."
Yay! Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Joey the other day. It was really cool to go see his gallery, and I'm super glad that people enjoyed it, because I think it's going to be lots of fun if we can keep doing kind of stuff like that in the future. We'll see how I feel about this. I'm not sure right now. I'm just playing around.
It's all good. We get time. B. Tim's asked, thoughts on freshwater Amazon / South American puffers or any other freshwater puffers?
Okay, so not all freshwater puffers are true freshwater puffers. A lot of them are brackish. For instance, I'm pretty sure green spotted puffers are brackish until they're adults, in which case they go full salt. So that's a consideration to be made when looking at freshwater puffers. But I think things like Fahaka puffers and Mabu puffers might actually be full fresh. And I think they're awesome. Mabu puffers, Fahaka, any of those big puffers are like having puppy dogs in your tank. I mean, you can't keep a lot with them because they'll just mess it up and eat it. But if you're looking for like a really nice, big, fun, quirky looking pet fish, I think they're an excellent option. You just got to consider the fact that they can't really be housed with a whole heck of a lot because of their monstrous appetites and beaks and ability to shred just about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's hold off a bit on
I'm done.
the Just at this rate, it's going to dry before I get to use it. No, I feel bad. There we go. Starting to get somewhere here. Got a nice rock in the back here. Attach corals too, something nice and branchy.
Yeah, we need.
Feeling bad, some of these snails are upside down. They're like, buddy, what did you do to me? Flipping them all over.
Collateral.
Just relax, snails, you'll be fine. It's good for you. Put hair on your chest or something. This guy's left the tank entirely. He's like, forget it.
I'm done.
I'm out. Okay. Is this too wide? Maybe not. Let's see what this looks like.
So we have another, somebody asking what is your favorite fish. They missed the last one.
Freshwater is, I love Asian arowanas. Love them. Been a huge fan for a long time, and I've mentioned earlier that I've got one tattooed on my shoulder here. It's the first tattoo I ever got too, actually. And for saltwater, it's hard to say because my opinion changes all the time. But I've always really loved jawfish. Those two are solid. Perfect. I've always really loved jawfish because of their playfulness and their ridiculousness in terms of decorating their little caves and stuff that they make, and how competitive. If you have two of them, they get super competitive with each other, and they do ridiculous things like steal from one another. One guy will grab a polyp on a rock and drag it to his cave, and 5 minutes later, while he's out trying to find something else, his rival swims over from the opposite end of the tank and steals it and takes it back, and he comes back looking like, where did that go? And then he realizes his buddy took it, so he goes over and steals it back when his buddy's off looking for something. It's crazy. They're ridiculous. For jawfish, I think dusky jawfish do really well in captivity, and they stay relatively small. And same with pearl jawfish.
That's one I was gonna get, actually.
Yeah, there's a really nice, I think they're orange spot or blue spotted. Either way, there's a really crazy looking one. Yeah, they're blue spotted. They're like a bright orange base, yellow face, bright metallic blue spots, but they often honestly don't do very well, and they need a lot of substrate depth to be happy. What I like about the little guys is that you can get some PVC, get that PVC and make a network of elbows and stuff that go into different directions, and then they all come up with couplings or something, or 90-degree elbows, and you can decorate around the elbow with a piece of rock so that you can't actually see it goes down into PVC. Bury that in the substrate, and then they have a network already that they can kind of live within without going crazy and digging up everything in your tank. And that seems to do wonders for them in captivity and works really, really well. So.
I like it.
I'm actually quite happy with where we're headed. I want to maybe add something a little bit, maybe just a little bit more to it.
I think the shapes make it easy too.
Oh, Carib Sea Life Rock. The shapes that you can buy, it's a box of what they call as Life Rock shapes. They give you a few of these kind of almost like bridges with a bunch of knobs hanging off of them. And they give you some caves and whatnot, and then they give you a couple branches here and there and some other stuff. But it makes it a lot easier. So usually what I recommend is getting some of their boxes of shapes, and then maybe one box. That's a little symmetrical for me. Maybe one box of their regular version as well. Maybe we'll do this instead. We're at that stage where I'm like finessing what I've already got.
And so you wouldn't put any towards like touching the wall at all. Like you would leave it. Like my question would be, could you put it like leaned against with like some putty against it to make like another little arch on top?
Like here?
Like no, but I meant like attached to the actual
Oh, to the
wall.
back? I usually leave it completely off the back glass so that the rock is not in any way putting any force on the glass.
I get you.
Although people have been doing it for years and years and years.
Yeah, like
and you don't usually have a problem. But I like to make sure that there's always flow around the rock.
For sure.
So I try to avoid it, but
cool.
At this stage, I'm just trying to decide if I'm bridging these together. Do you like them separate like that?
Yeah, again, it's whatever.
Well, we're at that stage right now where I'm almost ready to put a bow on it. So if you have any preferences in what you're seeing, or you want to add more rock or whatever, just kind of...
Whatever you think. Again.
Wow!
Yeah,
Dude,
you get total rain. For sure.
Giving me all the things.
Here, there's more putty to eat it.
Sweet. Actually, I'm going to in a sec, so... Awesome.
Recommendations for a freshwater centerpiece in a 55-gallon tank.
If it's a community tank, I think small cichlids can often work well as a centerpiece. Like I really like if it's a community tank. I'll often use things like rams as centerpiece fish. Like I'll get a pair of rams and call that my centerpiece. But it really depends. Sometimes I like to use as centerpiece fish sparkling gouramis, or not sparkling gouramis. They're really small, I think. Pearl gouramis, that's the one. I've always found them to be really, really pretty and interesting, and they're just large enough to be centerpiece fish as well, in my opinion. But it really depends on what you're keeping with it. I use rainbows as centerpiece fish, even though they do really well in groups. So I'll get like 4 or 5 rainbows, and they'll be the centerpiece together kind of thing. But I don't always, this is the thing, I don't always have a centerpiece. Like in the planet tank that I've got at my place that we're going to be, that's on the Big Al's VOD channel, I'm intending just to put a group of white clouds in there. No centerpiece, just a school of white clouds. And sometimes that simplicity is really nice too. But yeah, Severums can work really well as centerpiece fish.
What are your thoughts on Glofish?
I dropped my putty. Putty, come back. Putty, come back. You can blame it all on me. Glofish? Okay, here's the thing. I both love and hate them. And it's a funny relationship, I guess, that I'm conflicted over. The science and the engineering behind Glofish fascinates me. I think it's absolutely remarkable that we're capable of genetically modifying a creature like a fish with fluorescent pigmentation from something like a jellyfish or a coral, and that it will be represented and make those fish react to UV light in the same way a coral or a jellyfish would. The thing is, I also find them completely unnatural. So I fight the part of myself that's like, I just want natural fish. I usually don't get morse of things. I just want, I don't like albinos of things or anything like that. I just want the most natural version of it because I want to appreciate that fish in all of its splendor. And I feel like once you've bred it to look differently, you're appreciating something different about the fish, not its natural state. And I want to appreciate the fish for what it is first, and the beauty it naturally had. But I do find them completely fascinating. So I may or may not in the future, I've been thinking about it, considering a glowfish kind of organism. I say organism because it's not glowfish that I'm interested in, but it is a glow something. We'll see what happens. In Canada, it's not the easiest to get them because you have to be able to prove that they weren't first generation, that they weren't genetically modified in Canada. They have to be the offspring of a genetically modified organism. They can't be the organism itself that was genetically modified, if that makes sense. It can't be the one that was in the lab and they did things to. I think the only loophole is it can be the offspring of that, because then those technically weren't genetically modified. They were born naturally, already all messed up. All right, I think we're going to be good for putty after the next line. Just trying to.
So the Apex is running the system. There's a Vectra, Ecotech Vectra M1 pump running everything. But yeah, it's kind of basic right now. Still new tank, so I'm still going through some growing pains.
I'll tell you, one of the hardest, of all the Life Rock stuff, one of the hardest things to work with is their branch, because every branch looks identical and they're bulky, and they've only ever got one, like, mold. Y. Yeah.
That's why I only bought one of them. But if there's no room for it, it's a problem.
I feel like there's a place for them, it's just, I've used them in the past, it's just not easy. Yeah, you're gonna go into something, buddy. Alright, let's see. I do really like these two pieces and I kind of want to find a place for them, but I also just am not sure.
I mean, there's not a ton of room in the sump, but they're like definitely not for all that raw.
Right. One thing I also like to look at is actually the size of the tank, because this tank's pretty large. We have less than a centimeter of space with one of these rocks. I mean, there's space, but just one of the knobs is just barely off the back glass, which is going to make it a little hard to clean, I think, but not the end of the world. I think after that putty, we're going to call it. I'm still going to try fitting a couple more rocks in here.
What was your first tank?
What was my first tank?
Yeah.
Oh, like the first one my family ever had, or the first one, I'm going to go with the first one I personally had. So this is going to make a lot of people laugh. So when I started in the hobby on my own, I was 16. I didn't have a lot of money. It was my first job. My parents didn't want me to necessarily take up a ton of space in the house. We didn't have a big place or anything. with aquariums. So I actually bought, I don't know if you know the little critter keepers, little plastic containers. I bought the largest one they had. I think it held, at the store, I think it held about 2.5 gallons of water. And I ran a Penplax internal air-driven filter, which was just a cartridge that had carbon and a sponge. And I had spent, I bought the most expensive fish ever. I bought feeder rosy red minnows. I think they were like 10 cents each. I bought like 4 or 5 of them, and I kept them in that tank with that air filter. And that was the first tank I had since I was like probably 8 years old, 8 or 9. Oh no, maybe I was a little bit older. But either way, there was a large chunk of time where my dad shut the tank down, and then I had nothing in my life for a while. And then as soon as I got my first job, of course it was at Big Al's. Couldn't help myself. I started spending my paychecks there, which is why I'm not rich. Because I have kept putting my money back from where I was making it. This is why you don't get a job in your hobby. Because you will never get anywhere. But, I mean, I can't really say that. I've done pretty well considering.
Yeah, good.
But let me tell you, it was an uphill battle. All right. Not too shabby. Okay, let's see. I'm just going to play around with a couple more rocks, but
Absolutely.
I think we're pretty much at the end of it here. I don't want to go too much taller, mostly because you want space for the coral on top there.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure I don't want to bridge these.
Yeah, I kind of like the without it. Actually.
Yeah, no. Sometimes less is more. I almost never, ever have more than like 1/3 of the visual volume of the tank filled up with rock, because I want the other 1/3 to be coral and then some negative space. I'm digging it. What do you guys think? So I know it's hard to see like the depth and the dimension of everything because it's a camera and the tank's not right in front of you, but this is what we got. We can see right to the back of the tank, and a lot of these different caves go straight to the back of the tank. A lot of structure, a lot of place to put coral on, which is the main focus, right? Lots of space behind the rock and around the rock. Still lots of sand bed to put collections of corals on. Awesome, Timothy, K-Town, Dylan, I really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys dig it. Most importantly, Brett digs it.
Yeah, it's good.
Awesome.
What are we going to do with all this rock?
We have a lot of rock left over here. I think we're going to have to try to stick most of it in the sump, and then whatever you're not using, just save for a rainy day or your next tank, which is probably going to happen. Or sell it. But, yeah. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I know it's the middle of the beginning of the week, in the middle of the day. Most people are probably at work. Brett took some time off work so we could get this done. But yeah, so thanks for joining me. If you'd like to, I'm going to continue doing videos like this, live streams. Let me know what you guys would like to see in the comment section once this turns into an actual video. Also, I'm going to be doing some videos on some of my other animals at some point. Chickens, obviously. If you don't like chickens, but I know a lot of people do. And my reef build I've got at my house, the gray, orange, and purple build. I'm really gunning to get that plumbing finished so I can get it all filled up and we can get that started. So check that out. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for stopping by.